Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. What does it mean to be considered wealthy? Traditionally, people tend to use indicators like income or net worth, or perhaps a combination of the two. But officially, there is no definition of what it takes to be considered wealthy. According to Christian Derides, Deputy Chief Economist at Moody's Analytics, generally speaking, we might consider the top 10% of households by income as wealthy. And that certainly can be a useful benchmark, but I think it's worth considering net worth as well. Because think of someone who has a high income but spends it all. Unless that income is guaranteed on a regular basis, say from rental properties or other investments, if they spend it all, they might not be wealthy. Or consider the acronym HENRYs, those high earners who are relatively young, who aren't rich yet because their income is a fairly recent accomplishment, but will very likely be wealthy in the future because their income is so large. So depending on your circumstances, you might consider income a better indicator of wealth. Or maybe you consider net worth a better indicator of wealth. Or maybe you consider a combination of the two. You often hear people say, cash flow is what counts. But then you have other people who say, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And at the end of the day, there's probably a little bit of truth to both of these. So let's consider the top 10% of income earners, or those with the top 10% of net worth, to be considered wealthy for the purposes of this video. Given that, what does it take to be considered wealthy? 2,600,000. This number represents the median net worth of the top 10% of households as reported by the recent survey of consumer finances by the Federal Reserve. And this survey is done once every 3 years. And the jump in net worth in the past 3 years is the largest jump in net worth in the history of the survey. And much of this comes down to the increase in home values in the past few years and the stock market surging during the pandemic. Many people ended up stocking away extra cash during the pandemic, and that helped to fuel the increase in this number. During the heart of the pandemic, the personal savings rate actually topped 30%, but has since fallen to less than 3.5%. And while it takes multi-millionaire status to put you in the top 10%, the median household net worth is actually about $193,000. So that figure is going to be more telling of the typical American. But this figure alone is up 37% from the previous survey. So more Americans than ever are wealthier than ever. But keep in mind that this number does include home value. And it's important to consider that a lot of Americans do have a significant portion of their net worth locked up in their home. For many, they may not be feeling wealthier as we've been fighting the highest inflation we've seen in about 4 decades. Interest rates are higher across the board, meaning it's far more expensive if you're looking to take out a mortgage or an auto loan, or if you're carrying bad debt types, think credit cards or personal loans. But the perk in all of this is that if you have cash and you're looking to capture a decent rate on it, you can these days. You can easily find accounts paying 5% plus. And as interest rates have gone higher, it's left many people feeling like they're locked up in their homes because they captured a mortgage rate when it was 2 or 3%. Now they're unable to sell their home to buy another because the new interest rate would be significantly higher, meaning a higher monthly payment. So the surge in home values coupled with the surge in interest rates has kind of been a double-edged sword. 2.2 million. This is the net worth that Americans said that they would need in order to feel wealthy according to the most recent Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey. That's fairly close to the net worth necessary to rank in the top 10%. And I think this speaks to people really feeling the effects of inflation, because in the past, so often you hear people reference $1 million benchmark, but nowadays it seems like it's more common to hear people reference the $2 or the $3 million benchmark. And keep in mind, when respondents gave an answer to this question, they're giving an opinion, and that's going to inevitably include emotions, because the question Schwab asked is, what does it take to feel wealthy? 560,000. This is the net worth that Americans actually report feeling wealthy according to that same Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey. And this number specifically references investable assets capable of generating an income, specifically excluding the value of one's primary home. And Charles Schwab dubs this America's wealth paradox, which is very fitting because there's a big difference between $500,000 and $2 million. And I think this is a really important distinction to notice. The amount necessary necessary to feel wealthy is going to vary greatly from person to person. It depends on where you live, your lifestyle, and your family dynamics. So much of the feeling of wealth is subjective, whereas when we talk about what it takes to get into the top 10%, that is a definitive metric that you can measure. But when you talk about that threshold of what it takes to feel wealthy, that is so individualized that it's impossible to put a number on it for the masses. And arguably, this is the number that matters most, the number where you feel like you've hit success for yourself. There's so much push around millionaire status, and I'm kind of right there with other people. I think it's a wonderful goal to strive for, as I discuss in this video. However, I don't think it's a must for absolutely everyone. For instance, let's say you go into retirement with absolutely no debt, a completely paid off home, you've got a paid off car, you've got reliable income streams. To say that you need 7 figures in the bank could be entirely untrue. That's why I like to say that finance is personal. So much of what you need is personal to your situation. $483,000. This is the income that people report that they would need in order to feel rich. That is a really high income. To put it into perspective, for single income earners, that is beyond the top 99th percentile. If we're talking about a dual income earning household, that puts you beyond the top 98th percentile. So basically, in terms of income, people are saying you've got to be in the top 1% in order to feel wealthy. According to the US Census Bureau, the median household income is just over $75,000. Again, this median figure is going to be more telling of your typical American. And the income people are reporting they need in order to feel rich is about 6.5 times that median figure. Yes, certainly life does get easier when you have a bigger shovel, when you have a bigger income to work with. It should get easier to put more towards investments, more towards savings, and yes, more to spend on enjoying today. But it's important to keep in mind that a higher income does not automatically translate to higher wealth. You still have to make sure you're sticking to the basics, that you're living within your means, that you're constantly saving and investing for your future. Because so many people just fall into the trap of only increasing their spending when their income increases. Then they end up living paycheck to paycheck even as they have an impressive 6-figure salary. And if you don't have the basics of personal finance down, it is possible to outspend at any income level. $135,605. This is the income that puts you in the top 10% of single income earners in the United States. So if we're sticking with the rule of the top 10% puts you in wealthy status, that's the number to aim for. But notice that this number is significantly lower than the number people reported they needed to earn in order to feel rich or to feel wealthy. $216,056. This number represents the income necessary for a household with a dual or multiple income earners to be in the top 10%. So even the income that puts you in the top 10% for households is significantly lower, less than half than the income people report saying they need in order to feel wealthy. I do think it's important to include single incomes as well as household incomes because there's a lot of single people who are on their own wealth journey who aren't coupled up. But so much of the information available really comes down to just household information. So whenever that information is available, I do like to report both. No matter what your circumstance, getting an income that puts you in the top 10% of income earners should make your road to wealth creation easier. It should be easier to build wealth at this point. What it takes to feel wealthy depends on your situation. Some people put a greater emphasis on income, and other people put a greater emphasis on net worth. There's no right or wrong answer. It just comes down to your situation. And importantly, the number or the numbers where you feel wealthy, those are the numbers that matter most. So those are the numbers that you should be focusing on. So what do you think? What net worth or what income do you think it takes to feel wealthy? Leave your answer in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.